For those that don't know me, so I'm Mariah. I'm the sales and marketing lead here at BluMortgage. A lot of the new clients and demos, probably we already chatted, and I helped you make the decision to come on board with Blue. For those that are a little bit older clients in BluMortgage, you guys probably came through Tom, and it's a pleasure having you with us today. For those that are not BluMortgage clients, I just wanted to make it crystal clear. The presentation today will not focus on BluMortgage itself. It's going to be about how you can use your email and social media to stay top of mind in such a noisy market that it's out there, because borrowers now have access to a lot of different information sources. Some of it is good, some of it it's not. So we want to make sure that you guys know how you can stay top of mind, providing value and building better relationships with your clients, building trust relationships. And in order to do that, we partnered up with OpenHouse, and I'm gonna pass it over to Jamie so she can introduce herself and talk a little bit about OpenHouse.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me here today. As you mentioned, we do a lot of work together, both as a service provider for BluMortgage, but also as partners through programs like this for our agents and brokers. So, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Jamie Van Vliet. I am the founder and CEO of Open House Marketing, and we provide digital marketing services for the mortgage and real estate industry, mainly mortgage agents and brokers. So, we have a couple different services. The first being white glove services, where we work with you on a one-on-one basis to either manage your social media, build out your email campaigns, make you a website. We also have a membership for mortgage and agents and brokers. So that's where we provide completely done for you content where you can just go in, click and save. And as Mariah said, super excited to be here today talking to you about how to maximize your engagement across email and social, and kind of how the two can work in concert together.
Awesome. Now, we're going to start by talking a little bit in terms of why email and social media work better together. And one of the things that, before Jamie goes into all the details on the next slide, is the power of consistency, right? I feel like a lot of the brokers I talk with, they have kind of the same complaint of like, hey, it's just too busy. I don't have the time to be posting every time, or even I don't know what to post about. What do my clients care about, right? It's a little bit hard for them to be able to do everything. So then they put that on the side, they focus on clients, focusing on closing deals, and then what happens is inconsistent type of communication with the clients,
Mm-hmm.
right? And a couple of things that I want to mention here is that your borrowers, they don't need you just for closing, right? It's important for you to be with them all year round, because the feedback we get from brokers is the more you reach out to clients, the more top of mind you are, the more chances you have for repeat business and also more referrals. Because hey, I just did a mortgage with these broker, and now my neighbor needs a mortgage, or someone in my family needs a mortgage. The probability of okay, I just got an email yesterday from my broker, I'm just going to send their information to my friend, it's extremely higher than if they can't even remember your name, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And to stay consistent, there is, of course, a lot of the things that we usually mention from BluMortgage, renewal reminders, mortgage anniversary emails. But sometimes you do want to be in touch with your clients through just monthly check-ins, because then you can build the relationship with both current clients, but also people that you just have in your database that you're trying to nurture to turn them into clients. And to do it effectively, I would say you can do it on a month-to-month basis, and but also be in different channels, right? Because at least, and Jamie, you can jump in here, but what I notice is like depending on the broker, they have different target audiences, and based on those audiences, you need to make yourself available for all the different platforms, all the different parts
Definitely.
of the business. And also, one thing to keep in mind is if you don't reach out to your clients, someone else will.
Hmm.
And they will likely get the information from the most recent email, the most recent social media post that they saved. And that's why the consistency matters, right? And now that we understood kind of the power of these ongoing communication, let's talk a little bit on how you can use your social media and your email to work together. I'll pass it over to Jamie.
Yeah, I love that note on consistency. And I just to kind of add to that, it's really easy to feel overwhelmed with these tasks, especially, we sit here in these webinars and we're going to give you a huge list of things that you can be doing. And, it's really easy for agents and brokers and anyone really to feel like, oh my gosh, I have no idea how I'm going to get all of these things done, execute on this huge list, because it's easy when things are slow. It's not so easy when things, start to pick up. And I think a lot of us have felt that way in the industry over the last year. It's been a little bit of a slower, more challenging year for a lot of agents and brokers. So this is the time to really make sure that your systems are working for you. That way, when things pick up and business picks up, you've already got all of those systems working for you in the background. I mean, it's a pretty popular quote. Many of you may have heard it before, that our businesses rise and fall to the levels of our systems. And so as we kind of walk through and talk about all of these different things and tactics you can be doing today in your email and your social media, I would just kind of remind yourself to ask the question, okay, how can I automate these things? How can I make them easier for myself? And obviously, that's a big part of what both BluMortgage and OpenHouse help you do. And for those of you who are readers who are here with us today or watching the recording, the book Atomic Habits by James Clear is definitely a book that's changed my life. But there's one quote in there that always stands out to me, and it's to automate the ordinary so that you can do the extraordinary. So again, if there are pieces of your marketing that you can automate, plug in, just so that they're kind of running in the background for you, your social media, your email, whatever else you can think of, then definitely get those systems up and going so that you can be consistent with them. Otherwise, if we only do it when we actually have the time or energy, then maybe we're doing really great in our email and social media for 2 months, and then we don't post for 6 months or send anything out. And like Mariah said, you're competing against not only other agents and brokers, but also the banks. And you know what the banks are doing? Sending renewal reminders. They're sending them in the mail. They're sending them via email. They're notifying people in their apps. So you've definitely got to set up those systems for yourself so that you're not missing out on that business. So I love that we're kind of starting on that note. And then wanted to also just kind of mention and kind of dig a little bit into how social media and email work so well together. Because again, this is something that I think, we can all be guilty of. I can even be guilty of this in our own business, is prioritizing one over the other. But they definitely both have their roles, and they're both really, really important. So obviously, like Mara said, different target audiences are going to be in different areas. So you might have people, and I think there's a slide on this later on, but there are probably people that open every single email they get. There are probably other people who have 40,000 emails in their inbox and they're not going to open it up, but maybe that person is regularly on Instagram scrolling through their feeds. So both of these are really important, not only because of the different target audiences, but also the way that people receive information through them. So obviously, email can feel really personal. And I hear this all the time from agents and brokers that clients don't always necessarily know that something is automated coming through email. And it sounds really funny sometimes to, people like Mariah or I, or I'm sure some of you as well, who you look at this and you're thinking, well, this is clearly a very, even like cookie cutter standard email. It's not personal, but a lot of agents might think that, or sorry, a lot of clients will think that, okay, my agent actually sat down and wrote this email for me. So it does feel really personal. And it can help you nurture those relationships, whether it is sending out something that's like a little bit more fluffy and lighthearted, like a newsletter or some home tips, or sending out a really targeted campaign, regarding someone's mortgage type that they're already in, or a lead gen campaign for prospects that you have in a pipeline. So that's kind of the benefit, high level, of email. Social is definitely a little bit different. So of course, social is a really great way to keep at top of mind for people who are already in your network, but also to expand your existing network and get in front of new faces, new businesses, new local communities that might not already be in touch with you. And so we're going to talk about how to do this on both email and social specifically. Okay, so just to kind of get into social first, talking about, Mariah mentioned, there's different platforms that are best for different audiences, and you will find that, different people are everywhere. And so when it comes to social, this is kind of our guide, and I'll add some other notes on this as well, but feel free to take a photo of this or start writing down any notes. LinkedIn is, of course, as we know, a professional network. So for agents and brokers, I find that this is the best place to be doing industry marketing. So maybe working with your referral partners. If you are a mortgage agent, this is maybe where your messaging should be talking to realtors, financial planners, anyone that is also a professional in the industry who might be looking out for posts like yours and looking to engage. Apart from that, even testimonials, client referrals, things like that perform really well on this platform, again, because it's building your credibility. So other, again, realtors, financial planners are going to see that and think, okay, this is a trusted, reputable source that I can refer my clients to. LinkedIn, love to see, photo and graphic based content performs really well on LinkedIn. They are changing the post formats quite often over there, so the recommendations do change, but I do find that type of content works really well. You can also do long form written content on here, so maybe a thought leadery-esque type of piece. Maybe you've got an opinion about what's going on in the market right now, or an economic breakdown to share, or maybe everything that's going on with tariffs, you want to take a piece from an economist and add your own thoughts on there. That type of content performs really, really well on LinkedIn. Instagram, totally different ball game. As you probably know, Instagram is where a lot of people go to sort of like hang out and almost like relax online. So there is definitely a place for learning, but Instagram's really a visual app. It's about visual storytelling, and of course that can be done through both graphics, photos, and video content. Obviously, over the past couple of years, we're seeing an increase in push towards video content. The platforms, especially Instagram, are moving more and more towards video. So this is what we always tell people who are working with OpenHouse. We're obviously providing you a lot of graphic content, whether it's through the membership or through your white glove social media management plan with us. And we hope that you add in some videos on there, show your face, maybe jump on your Instagram stories and tell a personal story or a funny story about a client signing, or again, give people an update. And just, this is a place where, again, you can blend the educational and the personal so that people can get to know who you are a little bit better. That's one thing that I will say is an advantage over the banks, right? That you can be yourself. And something like doing a mortgage is a deeply personal transaction for a lot of people. Finances can be emotional. Maybe they have had some, like, a rocky past when it comes to their past mortgages or their finances. So showing people who you are and building that trust with them is really important. And Instagram's a great place to do that. Facebook, more similarly, is again, a sort of relationship community-based platform. This is probably somewhere where you can almost blend the LinkedIn and Instagram approach. Usually we find on Facebook, this is where people are really going to be connecting with their existing networks. So whether you're on a personal page or a business page on Facebook, you're likely talking to people that you already know in your community. So these are, your friends, your family members. You might even be posting in Facebook groups, local groups, which is a really, really great way to, again, expand that audience. And then TikTok is not something I recommend for everyone, to be totally honest. I think that there's a very specific type of agent or broker who's going to do really well on TikTok. And it also does require quite a bit of heavy lifting and work, and consistency is really important. So again, if you're not up for, filming multiple videos a week, if not a day, and posting those, then I would say your energy is probably best spent on other platforms. Though TikTok can be really great if you are someone who has that time to film the video, and also, maybe you're a little bit, what's the right way to say this? Like, I think bold, and, maybe you even have like a hot take. So maybe you want to get on TikTok and rant about how the upcoming tariffs are going to impact interest rates and the economy. That type of content has the ability to go viral and expand your reach. But again, I would say not necessarily for everyone. So this is where I think we can kind of take some of the content that we're talking about in Blue and repurpose this onto social. So, and I just want to also remind everyone that there is a Q&A function. So if you have any thoughts or questions, you can feel free to drop them on the sidebar there, and we can kind of chat either at the end, or, if we're talking about something that's relevant to the moment. But just kind of circle back to this conversation. Like I said at the beginning, not everyone is going to read every email, and also contrastingly, not everyone's going to look at every social post. So if you've put together some really great content in Blue, whether it's something you've made yourself or even something that's been provided by Blue for you, and you want to make sure that all eyes are going to see it, you're hitting people, exactly where they are, then this is kind of how we recommend at OpenHouse repurposing your newsletter content. That way, maybe depending on what your open rate is, maybe you've got 20% of people that okay, they're not even opening my emails. And to be honest, I think that would be a great stat. But, maybe, they're not opening any email that I send to them, but I know that they're really active on Instagram or LinkedIn. So here's some ways that we recommend doing this. Again, feel free to take a photo, but newsletter, you can actually put that right into a LinkedIn post. As I said, long form written content does really well on LinkedIn. So let's say in a newsletter, you have a portion of that newsletter that's dedicated to, again, like an economic update or a market update. Maybe there was like something that you sent out on the Bank of Canada announcement. You can actually just take that text and put it into LinkedIn. You can also even copy and paste the text from your newsletter into ChatGPT and say, repurpose this for a LinkedIn post, and add some, again, thought leadership into that writing. Really, really great results there. Instagram or Facebook Reels. So maybe you want to take a quick little video talking about one of the things in your newsletter. Again, it doesn't always have to be, an economic update. If you're not comfortable jumping on video and talking about what's going to be happening in the market, because obviously those are quite complex themes that not everyone's an economist. It can be lighthearted things as well. Maybe it's like, hey, we're talking about how to increase your curb appeal in the spring, and it's something more light and fluffy, and you're a gardener and you want to go and jump on and say, hey everyone, my April newsletter, I was talking about how to increase curb appeal, so I just want to take you around and show you how we've done that in our home, which is going to increase the resale value. So it doesn't always have to be mortgage all the time. You can kind of find things that are loosely related to the mortgage and real estate industry and kind of tie it back with a red thread. And then, if you're doing something like that, it's like, oh, by the way, if you are selling, let's have a conversation. Let's get you pre-approved for your upcoming mortgage. And, always ending with a little call to action. Twitter or X, again, pretty self-explanatory, more economic based, I would say, things that are maybe going or happening in the political sphere, in the market, but making that content much more brief and concise. Again, Twitter or X is something that I don't necessarily highly recommend for agents and brokers. I think unless you're someone who's going to be really, really active and getting yourself involved in conversations that are happening with other users on an almost daily basis, you're probably not going to see too much from that. And then, of course, bring it back to Instagram and utilizing the story feature. So there are a ton of little interactive kind of features you can use on Instagram stories, polls being one of them. You can do voting, you can ask a question on there, or again, even jump onto video. So definitely this is a really good way, again, of kind of making it easier for yourself. If you've got this newsletter template provided by Blue that's already got, 5 or 6 amazing topics, it's like, why not repurpose those and get them onto your social? I don't know if you have anything to add there, Mariah.
I do have a couple things to add. One of them is with the templates that you get in Blue, you would have enough content in there. And there is this thing, I have it in a sticker on everything, because I always like to do things extremely perfect. And if they're not perfect, it's kind of almost like I don't even want to do it. So I'm switching that mentality from done is better than perfect,
So
right?
true.
So if you're like, oh, but I don't know how to create an image or how to do something, as Jamie mentioned, for the text, you can literally copy what is in the newsletters that we're providing, put it on ChatGPT, and ask it to repurpose for a social media post. By all means, if that's too much work, you can literally copy what's in the newsletter, put it on social media. It might not have the same approach or the same results you would get if you went and repurposed it, but it is something at least that will be out there. And another thing that I think it's pretty important too, it's doing it in a timely manner, right? If Bank of Canada rate updates happen on a Wednesday and you're posting about it on Saturday, your client probably already received 4 different emails talking about that by the time you decide to do something. So that's why kind of that done is better than perfect approach works really well, because you do have all the resources and you can literally be as simple as go to Canva, copy the newsletter topic, put it in Canva. It'd be a simple image. It doesn't need to be something super fancy. It will be already something that will be providing value to your clients on the platform that you choose to work from.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that you mentioned that as well, because I think that's a big roadblock of why people don't start sometimes, because they want it to be perfect. And, maybe they're not an expert in that topic, or they've never done this before. And so they just sort of give up. And definitely, I think, if you're just starting out with your social or repurposing these newsletter topics, then exactly, done is better than perfect. These are kind of like the ways that myself and my team would do it, but again, we're professional digital marketers. This is what we do all day every day, so don't necessarily feel like, okay, I have to hold myself to that exact same standard if you are DIYing things. We got a question in the chat: how often do you recommend posting for each platform? So it does vary platform to platform, and it does change quite frequently. Honestly, the best thing that you can do, because the algorithms are always changing, is just take a little quick Google. I recommend doing it about like once a quarter when you're scheduling your social media posts, is just saying like, how many times to post on Instagram per week, or best time of day to post on Instagram. And the answer will change quite frequently. We usually recommend no more than like 4 to 5 times a week, just so that you're not, especially as a mortgage agent, bombarding people all the time with mortgage content and finances. We all work in the industry and we might find it really exciting, but not everyone wants to hear, about their mortgage all day, every day. You do want to focus on providing value. So I would say, making sure that that your content is a good mix of educational, but then also maybe adding again some more personal or fun and light topics into the mix can make sure that people aren't really getting sick of you. Basically, there's no nice way to say it, but you never want people to be unfollowing you, right? You want to make sure that they're getting a lot of value from you, and yeah, they're not being overwhelmed by your posts.
And just to add to what Jamie just said, when you start posting also like a little bit of your personal stuff on social media, it might organically help you find your niche. Let's
Mm,
say you like fishing and you start posting like, hey, giving a break on mortgages because I'm fishing on the weekend because it's perfect weather for it. You might start finding other people that like that and they identify with you and they start following you because of that other thing, and then they're like, oh, he actually does mortgages or she actually does mortgages, let me reach out to them and start that. And that's how a lot of brokers, they do have that specific niche because it's a community, it's something that they like to do, and then their posts, you can see that is both professional, informational, giving content, but at the same time, they do have that personal touch that shows to whoever is on the other side of the screen that it's an actual human that they're dealing with, that they are being taken care of by a real person.
100%. Yeah, that's such a great point. This is a relationship business at the end of the day, right? And I can even think of, my realtor as an example. She posts all kinds of things on her Instagram story that have nothing to do with real estate, and it's her professional account, but she might be posting about buying decor for her house, or maybe about getting her puppy or whatever it is. And I find like those are two of my interests: love home decor, love dogs. So I'm going to reply to her Instagram stories. And most of the conversations that we've had are not actually about housing
Yeah.
or, my next home purchase or something like that. It's actually about her dog. But that's what's built our relationship, and it's built a lot of trust between us. So, same thing for you. If whatever your interests are, like I said, if you're into fishing, or maybe your kids play hockey and you're at the arena 5 times a week, and you want to share a little bit behind the curtains of like what it's like to be a hockey parent, and maybe you're working at the arena, like that's an amazing Instagram story showing people that you're sitting on your iPad at the arena watching your kid at practice and also getting some deals done. I think you'd be surprised how many people actually, comment on that on Facebook or reply to that on an Instagram story. And then again, you really start to find your people who know and trust you and who are that much more likely to refer business to you. Love that.
100%.
And so these are kind of a couple quick, just building off of that, quick strategies that you can implement on social media to boost engagement, no matter what platform. So we already talked about video. People obviously love to see human faces. I know we all have, different insecurities, and video can be really hard. I've been doing video honestly even since I was in high school. I was always, like doing video projects and things like that. It does get easier the more that you do it to see yourself on camera. But my biggest piece of advice for video: don't watch it back. Just post it. Like, as long as you know that you didn't say anything too crazy and that it was, somewhat polished, if that's what you want to project on your social media, those first couple times that you do it, just post it, because it's really easy for us to sit back and watch things over a million times and find all the flaws and say, oh, I didn't look good in that one, or I said something weird, or I had a couple too many ums and ahs. But it's really likely that the viewer is not going to see or care about those things. So just start posting. We talked again about using questions, running polls. I remember one of the biggest things, I have a sort of work Facebook account that I almost run like a LinkedIn. And a couple years ago at Christmas time, the Nespresso Advent calendar came out, and I was like so excited. I bought one for my husband, and I had it in mid-November, and I just wanted to give it to him. And I basically posted a photo of it on my work Facebook account and said, should I wait until December 1st and surprise him with this so that he can start opening it on the 1st? Or do I give it to him now so that, the anticipation can build? Sounds really simple and cheesy. And honestly, I did want people's opinions, but that was one of my most interacted with Facebook posts that I've ever done. And it was all of my connections, mortgage agents, people from networks, lenders, commenting and telling me their opinion on when I should give my husband this advent calendar. So again, asking people for feedback, whether you're using those functionality on like Instagram stories, or even if you're just posting a picture on Facebook or LinkedIn, people want to share their opinions and they want to have conversations with you. Storytelling, this is really important and applies to both email and social media. So again, like exactly what I just did. I told you a personal story, and I didn't even do that on purpose for the sake of this, but now maybe you feel like you know me a little bit better. I'm a gift giver, but I'm an impatient gift giver. I'm married and I drink Nespresso. Maybe next time we see each other at an event, you would remember one of those things and we would chat about it. So again, just getting people involved in who you are. And finally, call to actions. This is something that I cannot stress enough for you to be including on the majority, if not all, of your, social, at least for the educational posts and for your emails. So in a newsletter, maybe that includes like a sign off at the end where you're saying, like, here's a link to book a call with me or to start an application, giving people a really clear understanding of exactly where they need to go to work with you. And then on email, on social, it might be things like reach out today, send me a DM if you have any questions or you want to get a chat started. So it varies person to person. But again, just reminding people that, hey, I'm not just here to educate you on these things, but I'm actually here to help you with them too. So here's how we can work together. And then, of course, we want to talk a little bit about repetition. So it's very, the human mind is a funny thing. And oftentimes we need to see something multiple times before we, feel excited about it, or before we realize that it's important to us, or even before it sinks in and we remember it. I think especially email and social, you're getting bombarded with things all the time from hundreds, if not thousands, of companies and service providers. So it's really hard to stand out in a crowded market and again, to be top of mind. So being consistent again with that messaging and reminding people who you are and what you do, and possibly repurposing your content. So just like we talked about before, maybe you take that newsletter content, you put it into a social media post, let's say Instagram as an example. Then maybe a couple days later, you share that post that you've made on Instagram onto your Instagram stories, just so that people are reminded and you're actually, having a higher likelihood of capturing their attention. Not everyone opens every email. So maybe Mariah, maybe do you have any stats that you can share with us about like open rates generally that you see, or no pressure. I know that's like finding stats out of the blue, but what can people expect generally with open rates for like any kind of email that they might be sending? I know sometimes it's hit or miss for different people.
Yeah, I would say it's hit or miss, but the secret is kind of finding the tone and the approach that you feel that works with your clients. And the good thing about having a system, for example, that helps you with that is that you can actually see those rates, try different things, and see what works best. We do have emails, for example, that the opening rate is 20 to 30%, but we have other emails that do range at like 80 to 90% of an open rate. So it depends on what stage the client is, but also what is your approach to them? Are you seeing them just as a transaction, or are you seeing them as a person and passing that message over to them?
Love that. Yeah, it's important again just to remember that it's okay. Like when we work with agents and brokers, the open rate does vary depending on your database and who you've got in there. And same with people seeing your social media posts. It's okay that everyone's not answering your email. And actually that's probably really likely. Like I'm not sure, again, when it comes to this platform, but open rates vary depending on the business, depending on the industry. And so just getting creative with how you can reach those people who might not be opening those emails, using, SMS as well. Maybe doing some organic reach outs to those people. If you find that like, hey, there's been someone who has not answered my email, or opened my emails the last 12 times, maybe I'm going to set up a call with them, or send them a Starbucks or Tim Hortons gift card and just kind of like check in and see where they're at. So thinking outside of the box to engage those people that you might not be, getting on either platform, email or social. We had a good question here. Everyone says reach out to me or contact me or call me. Are there any other call to actions to sound more unique? It's a really, really great question. Yes. So definitely I'm not opposed to using those standard, run of the mill call to actions when they make sense. I think, it does work on standard posts to let people know your preferred method of contact. So, especially if you think about your website, if you want people to send you an email to get started, or you want people to give you a phone call or an application, some agents and brokers are really specific about that. So, just being really clear on the best way that they can get started with you, I think is important. But in terms of call to action that are a lot more likely to get people's attention, I think if you're talking about, it's really relevant for a lot of groups, but especially working with first-time homebuyers or homebuyers in general, find out how much you can afford is a really great one to make sure that people are actually reaching out to you, because it's right away you're kind of propositioning, I've got information that you need about your situation. So find out how much you can afford, whether that's reaching out to you for a chat, or maybe you have a free calculator on your website or an app that they can download. So looking to where you can add value. And on that note of, downloads and adding value, using guides as well. So if you don't already have a guide, this is something that we provide to all of our Open House members and even our white glove clients, our mortgage guides. So right now we've got, I believe, like 16 guides. We're continuing to, polish and add to that list. But let's say you want to focus on people who are new to Canada. That's a pretty good niche that has a lot of different kind of like caveats, special rules that people might not know about, or first time home buyers, same thing. So maybe you have something on your website that's like, download my free guide. So you're going to create a social media post, and it's 5 things that first time home buyers should know, or 5 things that people who are, new to Canada and buying a home need to know. They swipe through the 5 things, and then at the end, it points back to your website where you say, I've got a free guide for first-time home buyers or those who are new to Canada on my website. They go to your website and they have to enter in their email in order to download the guide. So now they've got something from you, and they've gained something from the interaction. They're getting, knowledge, value, and you're getting their email address. And then you pop that into Blue, and maybe you've set up a lead gen campaign for people who are new to Canada. So maybe they get an email that says like, hey, thanks so much for downloading my guide. Here's how I help people who are new to Canada when they're purchasing their first home here. And then, maybe 5 days later, if they haven't replied to you, they get another email with a little bit more value and an invitation to book a call with you. So you can be pretty creative, but I would say the best way to stand out is to look to what you can give to them or provide to them. There are a ton of other cute, like kind of cheeky call to actions you can do. A big popular one these days are like telling people to leave an emoji, and this works for some audiences, it doesn't for others. To be honest, you have to just kind of know if it suits you and it suits your people or not. But like drop a hand up emoji if you're trying to become a homeowner this year. Some people get a lot of engagement on things like that, some people none. It just really depends on who you are. Can also get people to answer questions. So like, tell me your dream neighborhood. If you're a local local agent, let's say like maybe you're in Toronto and you mostly deal with people who are in Toronto, maybe you start a conversation about like buying in specific neighborhoods and you have people leave a comment about like which neighborhood is their dream neighborhood to buy in. So you can really, really get creative, but I would say don't overlook, those really simple or basic call to actions, because it does let people know what the best way to get in touch with you is. Amazing. Okay. So, on that note, we did talk a little bit about this before, but how often we recommend posting on each platform. It is really specific per platform. And again, it changes throughout the year, just when the platforms make different updates to their algorithms. But if you are worried that, again, you may be posting too often and people are starting to maybe get a little bit tired of hearing about their mortgages, different formats, different platforms, and different content pillars. So content pillars for us are what basically just like types of content or topics. So we would say, of course, educational is the first content pillar. This is where you're providing education on mortgages or the mortgage industry. So maybe it's tips and tricks, Q&A, maybe it's defining, a definition of something in the industry, providing insight into programs that are available, you name it, any kind of education fits in there. And that's a really big value add. Then, of course, success stories. So I know I see these all over my social, but like closing day posts, like happy closing day to this couple, happy closing day to this couple. Really great, just kind of like little happy posts that builds trust. Obviously, client testimonials, same thing, builds trust. And you can absolutely work those things into your newsletters again. Some of the content pillars I would say that aren't listed here that are equally as important are like lifestyle, or sometimes what we lovingly call fluff. So again, this is maybe where you're posting about your fishing trip or your kids' hockey games or your husband's Nespresso gift. Because those are the things that are really going to help people feel like they know you and you're not just bombarding them with mortgage information all the time. And again, of course, spacing out major campaigns. So you don't want to be sending the same people a ton of different content at one time. If you've got different audiences, so let's say, maybe you're maybe you've built a really great first time homebuyers campaign and a really great new to Canada campaign, and those are going out to two different, buckets of people, then absolutely rock on, send them at the same time. But if you are sending out like some more general major campaigns, I would say space those out and really maximize them. And you can kind of take inspiration from major brands. When you see commercials and things like that, they're often really going with one specific campaign at a time. They're not advertising like 17 different programs all at the same time. So it is a little bit different when it comes to social media. Obviously, you want people to know what services are available. Same with your email. But if you're putting together a really, really strong campaign, again, an email, we do recommend spacing it out a little bit. I don't know, Mariah, if you have anything to add on that note in terms of campaigns.
No, you said everything. The only thing I would say also is when you're spacing out the campaigns, you can kind of use the different tools available to space that out. So let's say 1 week you post about it on your social media, the next week you send an email, and then later you send a social media. So even though you were sending the same message, you were sending it through different channels, so they automatically space out between each other.
Amazing. Yeah, and I see a question here on click rate. So again, this is Something that is going to vary depending on the agent or the broker. It's also going to vary depending on the size of your database and kind of like where you've gotten those people from. Some agents and brokers that we see have a smaller database, and it's people, that they've actually worked with and closed deals with. They're likely going to have a higher open and click rate versus people who may be entering in all kinds of emails, people that they've met at events or who've downloaded the guide off of their website, or there's even people who buy lists. So it does really depend. But generally speaking, on average, I would say a good click rate for with an open rate of 30% is around like 3 to 5%, which sounds crazy. It always sounds shocking to people when you say like, an open rate of 30% is great and then a click rate of 5% is
Yeah.
great. It's like, oh my God, what do you mean? That means 95% of people are not clicking on my email. But again, that's kind of the nature of human beings. I think like a great click rate would be 10% if you have like a general database. Again, maybe it's a little bit different if you have worked with everyone or you have a smaller database. It's people that you know really well, then maybe you can expect something significantly higher. But I would say on average, that's pretty standard. I don't know, Mariah, if you agree.
I agree. And what I would add on top of that is, other than mat mattering, I don't even know if that's an English word right now, but other than it matters that if you have dealt with them or not, it also depends on the type of email that, or the type of action, for example. What I noticed from our experience is that when we have a promo of like, hey, click here to enter, the click rate, it's extremely high, versus when it's something like, hey, click here to learn more, it's extremely low. So it's all also about how you reach out to your clients and what is the call to action on that link that you're going to put to click.
That's a great note. The easier you can make it for people, the better. That's kind of one of my favorite sales techniques. Like even when I was in a university working at the mall and signing people up for loyalty cards, I would always try and position it of like, how can I put all of the work on myself? So instead of asking
Yeah.
someone, do you want to sign up for our loyalty program or do you want to enter the draw? It's like, let me enter you in the draw. I'm going to do the work. I'm going to put you into the loyalty program. So
Yeah.
framing and positioning can really make a difference. But also say, make sure that those kind of like call to actions for things like a giveaway or draw are really high up, like have it a really catchy, almost clickbaity. I don't necessarily
Mhm.
love that term, but like subject line, and then having it really early up in the email and then repeat it again at the bottom, so that if there are people, and I'm sure we've all done it, like you open up an email and you just start scrolling through it before you've even looked at the top. So like hit them
Yeah.
in both places, change the
Yeah.
messaging a couple times. Like if this is a draw that you really believe in and that your audience, would benefit from it, but you just can't get them to look at it, change the way that you're sending it to them. Send it to them
Yeah.
5 different times over the course of a month and kind of sneak it in different places and advertise it using different verbiage. Again, I know it seems very repetitive when you're the one building it on your end, but trust me, as someone who sends out so many emails a day and for so many different clients, sometimes it takes many, many, many times for someone to get something until they actually go, oh, I haven't seen this. And you're like, I sent you the email
Yeah.
7 times before. And now you're telling me you didn't know about it.
Yeah. The other thing as well is reinforcing the value. So as Jamie said, like we need to make it easy to the clients. And sometimes at least when I see something like sign up here, I already assume that I would need to go to a form and click here, click there, a lot of steps to, let's say, enter a draw. You can also make it very clear, like, hey, click here, 2 clicks and you will be entered to win, or just like 2 minutes and you'll have this finished to receive the guide. So just already be proactive, letting them know how much time or how much effort they will need to put in order to get what you're trying to provide them.
Mhm. Instagram ads are great for that because it gives an autofill option as an example. So you literally just have to click enter. Um, So thinking like using that as an example and thinking about how you can sort of replicate something like that in an email. Sometimes, getting people to fill out a form is like pulling teeth, to be honest. So even if you just say reply to this email with a thumbs up, like, and you'll be entered,
Mhm.
like things like that. It sounds so funny, but sometimes it works. And again, people want things to be really easy for them. So that's a really great question.
Yeah.
So we're getting towards the end here. So just to kind of
Yep.
we've got a slide or two to recap key takeaways. Again, feel free to take a photo of this, but focusing on a couple key platforms. So if you discover, okay, Instagram and LinkedIn are where all my people are, then focusing on those platforms, obviously in concert with your email. Repurpose your content. So you've got these amazing, pieces of content from BluMortgage in your newsletters. Look to how you can repurpose those things onto social media and even vice versa. Maybe you posted something on social that performed so well that you want to work it into a newsletter piece. So it goes both ways. Obviously, think about engagement. How can you get people interacting with you, sending you messages, commenting, reaching out, tracking and adjusting? So, of course, like I've said a couple times, different things work for different people, depending on not only who you are in your personal style, but who is in your database and in your network. So if you've tried something out today, and it could even be something that we've said has worked for other agents that doesn't work for you, then don't be afraid to pivot and try something new. And again, so this is just a kind of a recap of those key takeaways. So I don't know, Mariah, if you have anything else that we want to add, or if we want to open it up to a couple more questions.
Just want to mention, because I feel like we mentioned a lot of times blue mortgage templates, and some brokers might be like, okay, I don't see anything in blue. So we just launched a new set of email templates, and I'm going to quickly share my screen with you guys here so you can see. If you can just give me the thumbs up or let me know, Jamie, once you can see my screen.
Yeah.
You can?
Yes.
Perfect. So now we have a new set of email templates. So from January to December, you have monthly touch points with your clients, and all of them are extremely pretty. We try to keep it in a very neutral branding. So no matter what your current branding is, you can use this and it will match. And all of these newsletters are customizable. So if you wanted to add your tone, your own way of speaking with the client, you would be able to do so. But we kind of already did the heavy lifting by creating these newsletters for you. And on top of it, we also have now some new market update templates for Bank of Canada rate increase, rate decrease, and rate holds. Again, all of these fully customizable. So just by using these templates, you can save hours per month by having to think about, oh, what am I going to post about? Because, for example, when we were talking about repurposed content, right? One newsletter now has at least 1, 2, 3, 4 different topics in here. If you want, you could come in here and repurpose this and make one post a month that we already have something. And one thing that we said a couple of times is don't be just transactional, be a little bit personal. So when you talk, for example, about hosting with style, you could put in a little bit of a personal input in there about how you do that, and then provide some value to your client at the same time. And for everyone that is a Blue client, to get access to these templates, you just need to email our support team. We'll send you a link. You will update a version of these extension in your Blue, and you get instant access to all of it.
Amazing.
Now, let me just stop sharing my screen here. Now, I feel like for those here that know Blue, you will get familiar with it. You're familiar with it. If you're not familiar, I will be reaching out after the webinar just to touch base with you guys. Now, I saw that there was a question here asking Jamie if you can share the services that you offer. So if you wanted to talk a little bit about how you can help brokers, any,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yes, so I have dropped my email in the chat first and foremost. So if anyone wants to chat a little bit about their specific business and set up a time to have a call with me, then feel free to reach out via email and we'll get something set up. But as I mentioned a couple times, so we are a digital marketing agency for the mortgage and real estate industry specifically. So we do provide what we call our white glove services, and that's where we work with you on a one-on-one basis as your marketing team. So myself and my team, we come in and we provide social media management services. That's one of our most popular services, and that's also how we work with Blue. So as Mariah said, you know, when you see their social posts, that's something that Mariah and I have worked on together. We're doing, you know, the copywriting and the graphic design for. So we do provide that service to agents and brokers as well. We also do website design and development. So you know, many of you get a standard website from your network or from your brokerage, which are a great starting point. But oftentimes you're looking for something, you know, a little bit different or more personal to you, somewhere that you can add things like the free downloadable guides to, you know, start collecting emails or add in a calculator, add in an about page that's really specific to you and the services that you offer. So we do offer website design as well. And then, of course, email management and campaigns. So whether you want help sending and creating, you know, specific newsletters or specific campaigns for lead generation, then we do that as well. So those are our three big services that we work with agents and brokers on. We of course do a lot of other things in between as well, you know, billboard designs, brochures, all of that good stuff. But those are the big three. For anyone who doesn't have a marketing budget or you're not quite ready to take that leap. Again, you know, it's a tough year. Maybe, you know, you're also just starting out and don't have a budget yet. We do offer a membership program. So the membership is $33 a month. I will just share my screen really quickly. I know we're at 2 o'clock and just wrapping up here. So we do have this membership, like I said, $33 a month, and it provides all of your social media content done for you. So I'm just kind of quickly scrolling through. We've got 4 different visual styles and collections, and every single month we post upwards of 45 pieces of completely done for you content. So very similarly to how Blue is providing you with done for you emails, we provide done for you social media. And you can come in, literally just save the post, copy and paste it, and put it onto any of your favorite platforms. We do also give you the Canva links to edit these posts as well. So that's really the biggest piece of the membership here. We also do have a really, really great resource library. So like I mentioned, we have a ton of guides right now. I believe there are 16, so that if you're working with a first-time home buyer or you want to post this on your website, you can come in, download the guide and start sending it out or using it as that call to action. So that's all I'll kind of say for today on the membership. But again, feel free to check us out at openhousemarketing.ca or email me at jamie@openhousemarketing.ca. It was such a pleasure to be
yeah,
here with all of you. Thank you so much for your amazing questions. We do work with brokers in the US as well. Our membership content specifically has some Canadian terms in there. So if you are signing up for the membership, just be wary of that. But we do work with brokers in the US, especially on that white glove service.
yeah. And we will also be sending an email after the webinar that will have both mine and Jamie's information. So there will be a call to action there for you guys to get in touch with Jamie post the webinar. And if you do use the membership that provides the 30 contents, Blue, other than the CRM, we also have a social media management tool. So instead of having to every day go and post in all these different channels, you can use the tool that we offer to once a month, you sit down, you schedule everything for the entire month, and then you don't need to worry about it again. So it saves a ton of time on your day to day when it comes to
Amazing.
uh, No, so Julie's asking if there is an additional cost for that tool in Blue to manage the social media. It's a tool that's already included in your Blue Mortgage subscription, so there is no additional cost to that. And if you guys want to learn more about it, we do have like a pre-recorded webinar that we did recently on that social media platform. You can just email our support team at support@blueroot.ca and we can share that resources with you.
Amazing.
It's called Zoho Social, Julie. Now, Jamie, there is Sarah here asking if is there a promo code for Open House that you can share with them?
Yes. So I actually am going to get something over to Mariah for when we send that out. So I don't have one for you yet. I've just got to talk with my team to get something active. So we will be giving a free month of Open House, the membership for you to test out and try out for the Blue users on this call. I know there are a couple Open House users already on here. So shout out to you guys. But again, for any of you who are not currently using the membership, then we will be providing that promo code. I do have to jump off for another call.
Awesome.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no
But
worries.
has any more questions for me?
Thanks,
Again, give
Jamie.
me an email.
And we'll be in touch with you guys shortly with the recording and the resources. We'll also send the presentation that we just had here. And thank you everyone for joining this session today. It was a pleasure chatting with you guys. And if you have questions, you can just reach out either to me or to Jamie, and we'll be happy to assist you guys offline.
Amazing.
Have a good one, everybody.
Bye.